Hello, space friends. Captain Snuggles here, bringing you my review of the quote-unquote final version of Jump Light Odyssey. For the uninitiated, JLO is a roguelite starship colony simulator in the style of old-school space anime like Star Blazers. The player takes command of the SDF Catalina, the last surviving starship of the Pleiades Navy, and attempts to guide it to the mythical Forever Star while constantly being pursued by the ruthless Zootopan Armada. The game had some pretty major hype prior to release, but it was pushed into early access way too early, and things absolutely fell apart from there. If you look back through my videos, you can see me getting progressively more confused as the early access train wreck gradually unfolded. Everything finally made sense when we learned that JLO was rushed out in a desperate attempt to secure additional funding after the studio's previous funding source fell through. Unfortunately, that desperate attempt backfired. The dev team at League of Geeks really did their best to salvage the situation, but due to the combination of crumbling finances and the botched release, the game's development has been halted indefinitely, and most of the dev team lost their jobs. So that sucks. Here on the consumer end, plenty of people are justifiably upset with the outcome, and some have even speculated that the whole thing was just a cash grab by a struggling studio. I think they're wrong, because the final patch really shows that this game was a labor of love from the dev team. Even after they lost their funding and knew they were losing their jobs, they made the most of the time and money they had left to roll out one final major update to get the game as close to their vision as they could. So with that background, let's review that final update. Long story short, Jump Light Odyssey version 0.3.1 is almost a great game. Almost. Let's look at the positives first. The biggest and most obvious point in JLO's favor is that it is absolutely bursting with style and charm. The music, the sound design, the visuals, and the story all really embody that old-school space anime aesthetic, and even if you ignore that throwback, the game has a really fun feel to it. The Catalina really does feel alive. It feels optimistic and energetic when things are going well, and it feels tense and stressed when things are going poorly. Those moods are conveyed through everything from the music to the body language of your crew members, and I think this is all a huge plus in the colony sim genre. Also on the plus side, the resource management feels pretty solid. Resource management, of course, is a big part of colony sims, and I think this game gets it right. For example, if you pick up a load of refugees, you then have to feed them. To feed them, you need to plant more crops, but to grow more crops, you need more biomass to fertilize them. If you plant more biomass, you'll need more water to grow that biomass. If you want to produce more water, you will need to generate more power, etc., etc. Those resource interactions feel intuitive and reasonably well balanced, especially with the addition of the shuttle mission system that lets you bring in quick one-time influxes of supplies. On a similar note, I think the game's tech tree is in a pretty good place. There could be more diversity, but still, in my recent playthrough, I felt encouraged to progress through that technology tree and gradually get better equipment to help me meet the new challenges that arise later in the game. Once again, that's a very big plus for this genre. And there are many other good things as well, but those are the major highlights. Now, on the minus side, there are just two things that really stand out, but they are pretty major. First, the game's main antagonists, the Zootopans, are pretty lackluster. They struggle to keep up with the Catalina until the very last sector, and although that does have sort of an epic final confrontation vibe to it, it would be nice to see them pop up a little more consistently throughout the playthrough. And once they finally do catch up, they can't really do anything except launch slow-moving boarding pods, which can be exciting at first, but are ultimately easy to deal with. All in all, the Zootopans don't quite live up to the hype as the game's only actual enemies. That is certainly an issue, although it is tolerable. The other big minus, though, is the bugs. The dev team worked really hard to fix as many bugs as they could before development ended, but a few made it through. There are two really major ones. First is what I call the Daydreamer bug, which causes crew members with the Daydreamer trait to destroy huge quantities of your food while also starving themselves to death. That can really tank a run, and there's not much you can do about it. Second is what I call the memory leak. This may actually be multiple bugs in addition to the actual memory leak, but I'm lumping them all into one because they all do the same thing. They progressively reduce the game's performance the longer it's left running. The game speed will decrease, supply chains will break down, orders will fail, and crew members will glitch out, all with increasing severity and regularity as the run goes on. You can exit and relaunch the game as a temporary fix, but that fix becomes more and more temporary with time. Now this one, the memory leak, is a real run killer if not attended to swiftly, and it can be hard to notice sometimes, making it hard to attend to it swiftly. Now, there are other minor bugs as well, like little visual glitches. Ultimately, those don't really bother me too much, and they don't factor into this review. It's really just those two big ones. So, in conclusion, this game is almost great, but instead it ends up being a mixed bag just due to the aborted development. There are some real positives to it, and there are some major negatives as well. So, do I recommend purchasing Jump Light Odyssey? Yes, but only if you meet one of two conditions. First condition, if you are a hardcore fan of classic space anime, you'll probably be able to overlook the issues and enjoy the game's aesthetic. Second condition, if you are a charitable person with a soft spot for game developers, consider picking up this game before December 5th, 2024. Until that date, half the profits go to the dev team that was laid off when development was cancelled. Those devs deserve a little love, and you will get at least a few solid hours of entertainment out of your purchase. Now, if you do not meet one of those two conditions, I do not recommend this game. You will find the downsides way too frustrating, and there is undoubtedly an actual finished game out there somewhere that you can spend your money on instead. Now, there is a slim chance that development will resume if the studio can find funding, and if they don't find funding, they will end early access and roll the game out as a completed product. I don't expect it to actually be a completed product, just a rebranding, but I might be wrong. If there is any sort of meaningful update, I will happily play through again and update my review. If not, this might be the end of my Jump Light Odyssey content. It is the game that started this channel, so maybe I'll get a nostalgic whim at some point, but no guarantees. And that is the end of this review. Thank you for watching, and I hope you will join me on one of my many other space adventures. Until then, this is Captain Snuggles, signing off.